Imagine one building that tried to collect every book in the world, and then imagine losing it. That building was real. 2,300 years ago, the city of Alexandria was the busiest port on earth, and it had the strangest customs law anywhere. Every ship that docked was searched, and any book found on board was confiscated, copied by scribes, and the copy handed back. The originals went into the Great Library, part of the Mausion, a state-funded research campus built around the 3rd century before Christ. The Ptolemaic kings of Egypt wanted nothing less than all human knowledge under one roof, and they paid whatever it took. Royal agents travelled to the book fairs of Athens and Rhodes with bags of silver, buying every scroll they could find. King Ptolemy III once borrowed Athens' official copies of the great tragedies, leaving a fortune in silver as a deposit. He kept the originals, forfeited the deposit on purpose, and sent back beautiful copies. Athens complained, but the library won. At its height, the collection may have held 500,000 scrolls, roughly 100,000 modern books, the largest on earth. Around it lived the world's first salaried research staff. Free housing, free meals, no taxes. A think tank, ancient style. What happened inside those halls quietly invented the world you live in. Start with Eratosthenes, the head librarian. Around 240 before Christ, using 2 sticks and the shadow of the sun, he measured the circumference of the earth. His answer was off by only a few hundred kilometers, more than 17 centuries before Magellan sailed around the planet. He also drew the first scientific world map, stitched together from expedition reports sitting on the library's shelf. Nearby, Euclid wrote the Elements, the geometry textbook that would teach mathematics to the world for the next 2,000 years. Callimachus built the Pincakes, a 120-volume catalogue of every author and every work, the first library catalogue ever. Herophilus mapped the human nervous system and named parts of the brain at a time when cutting open a body was scandalous. And Aristarchus of Samos argued that the Earth goes around the Sun 18 centuries before Copernicus dared to publish it. Later, Hero of Alexandria built the Elopile, a brass sphere that spun on jets of steam, the first recorded steam engine. A Greek craftsman of that era built the Antikythera mechanism, 37 bronze gears predicting eclipses decades ahead. So here is the question everyone asks. How do you lose something like that? The honest answer is, not in one fire. The first blow came in 145 before Christ, when King Ptolemy VIII purged the intellectuals of Alexandria. The head librarian fled to Cyprus. Scholars scattered across the Mediterranean, founding schools from Rhodes to Pergamum. The library kept its scrolls, but it lost its people. And a library without its people is just a warehouse of paper. Then came the famous fire. In 48 before Christ, Julius Caesar was trapped in Alexandria's harbour by an enemy fleet. He ordered his own ships burned to clear the docks. The flames spread into the city and into warehouses full of scrolls. The Roman writer Seneca, quoting Livy, says 40,000 scrolls burned that night, catastrophe, but not the end. We know it survived because the geographer Strabo studied at the Mausion 20 years later, and scholars kept publishing. Acquire to killer was money. Under Roman rule, funding dried up, and the post of head librarian became a political favour. By the 260s, the Mausion's membership fades from the record. Nobody burned it. The lights were simply turned off. In 272, the Emperor Aurelian's army retook Alexandria and destroyed the royal quarter where the main library stood. A daughter collection survived in the Serapeum Temple until a mob demolished the temple in 391. The shelves were gone. 24 years later, the mathematician Hypatia, the last great teacher of Alexandria, was murdered by a mob in the streets. She became a symbol the day curiosity was beaten in public. After her, the age of Alexandrian science was truly over. So what exactly burned or rotted in all of that? More than we will ever be able to list. Eratosthenes' great geography survives only as quotes inside other books. The original 3 volumes are gone forever. Callimachus' catalogue of all literature is gone too. We lost the index of everything we lost. Of hundreds of Greek tragedies, only about 32 survived. The rest exist as titles, fragments, and rumours. Sappho wrote 9 books of poetry that all antiquity praised. We have 1 complete poem, the rest is ash. And for a taste of the near miss, a copy of Archimedes' Method was scraped clean and overwritten with prayers. It was found again in 1906 under the prayer book text, inside Archimedes inventing something like integral calculus. 1800 years before Newton and Leibniz, 1 damaged copy stood between us and never knowing that. Now the fun part. What if none of it had happened? What if the library had lived, fully funded, to this day? The popular myth says humanity lost 1,000 years, that we would have landed on the moon in the Middle Ages. Historians are more careful. Knowledge dies by neglect, and it spreads through networks, not single buildings. Much of the library's best science did survive, copied to other cities, translated, argued with, and improved. But some doors genuinely closed. The steam engine stayed a temple toy instead of becoming an industry. Gearwork like the Antikythera mechanism vanished so completely that nothing that complex was built again for well over 1,000 years. Heliocentrism was abandoned for a geocentric sky because the better idea survived only as a footnote. Imagine an unbroken thread instead. Steam, gears, anatomy, and a sun-centered cosmos all developed together without interruption. It would not have been magic, just science, compounding year after year, the way interest compounds in a bank. The printing press would have been the real explosion. 500,000 scrolls, set in type, copied by the 1,000. Printing did more in 50 years than Alexandria's scribes had done in 7 centuries. It made knowledge fireproof. Because that is the deeper lesson. Ideas do not die in flames. They die when the last copy has no caretaker. What saved the classics was redundancy. Monks copying in cold monasteries, scholars translating in Baghdad's House of Wisdom. Today your photos sit in 3 data centers, and humanity's books are scanned into digital libraries on several continents. We are, at last, better Alexandrians, but our scrolls now are light and code, and they too can be switched off. So where would we be if the library had never burned? Maybe exactly here, only a few centuries earlier. The library's real legacy is not the books we lost. It is the idea that all knowledge is worth keeping, together, on purpose. Keep that idea, make copies of everything you love, and the next great library will never need a what if.